Hello and welcome to Wilson v. Wilson. I am Jess Wilson,
I'm Peter Wilson.
and this is a show where we talk news, politics, pop culture. So today we're going to start off with Vice Versa, where I read Peter a few headlines and he gives me his quick reaction. I have some fun ones for you today. Let's see, what order do I want to do these in? I think I'm going to throw you a curveball in the middle, just for fun. So we'll start with from CNN. Senate passes bill to protect same-sex and interracial marriage in landmark vote.
Yeah. It's good they're finally doing things.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure that's a federal decision, but it's good they're doing stuff and not leaving it up to courts all the time. I'm a libertarian.
Yeah? But all they're doing is making sure people are allowed to get married.
Oh, they're not. That's not the. Okay, reasonable.
What did you think it was?
I thought it was. Never mind.
Okay. For sure. This one is a 2-for-1. I just think both headlines are interesting put together. These are both from NBC, and one says, "The inside story of Trump's explosive dinner with Ye and Nick Fuentes." And the companion headline for a different story, "McConnell after Trump-Fuentes dinner. Anyone meeting with anti-Semites unlikely to ever be elected president."
The first one, I think it's funny that I saw something somewhere that said it's not good. It's a real low point when you meeting with Trump makes Trump look bad. It's also like I don't like Trump. I'm sick of the man.
Glad we're on the same page.
But I'm just confused why he's like, you know what? Let's make it. I feel like he has enough of a brand of controversy that he doesn't need to get mixed up with whatever Kanye has going on. And I don't know what Nick Fuentes does.
He's a neo-Nazi.
Yeah. That checks out.
Like worse than Ye has been, I would say. And also, for the record, the defense I heard from Trump when people started being like, "Hey, why the hell would you do this?" He was like, "I didn't know Nick Fuentes was coming. I was just trying to have dinner with Kanye." What?
I mean, fair. I mean, I would definitely not turn down a dinner with Kanye West.
I would. What?
I mean, not as like a approval, but that'd be such an interesting dinner. Would you
For the
not?
content?
Would you?
I wouldn't. I don't like him.
Okay, but I'd eat dinner with a lot of people I don't like.
It's beyond that. Because there are people that I don't like that I would sit down and eat with, and that I do often sit down and eat with. But there are some people that just like, if I get in a room with this person, I want to start throwing punches. I won't, but I'm gonna wanna, and it's gonna make me upset.
I guess that's sort of fair. I don't know. There's not a lot of people. Okay, there are some people who would be like, but I just people interest me, and I'm like,
Okay.
it'd be cool to find out what makes them tick. And you know the public personas of at least Kanye are probably different. Well, I don't know. Who knows? He could be a very different person when you actually meet him. I don't know, because he has friends. He has friends he's had friends. I don't know. He's weird. But I don't know. That'd be such an interesting dinner.
Yeah. You have fun with that, Peter.
Yeah. Hopefully I get to have dinner with Kanye. Not as like Peter's hanging out with Kanye. He's an anti-Semite now. But it's like, that'd be so interesting.
Okay. And then the companion headline, McConnell saying that anyone meeting with anti-Semites is unlikely to ever be elected president.
Yeah. Hey.
I think that's interesting.
That is interesting. But, I mean, McConnell's been mostly done with him, has been done with him pretty much since January 6th.
Oh, for sure.
And
I just think it's interesting he's taking a pretty hardline stance publicly.
I don't think it's that. I think at this point, McConnell knows that there's no way Trump gets elected. And because of that, there's no way McConnell's supporting Trump in a primary.
Yeah, for sure. But that is also what people said about Trump in 2016. Unfortunately.
This is true. But here's the thing. It's going to be a lot easier for Trump to win an election if the Democrats say, let's run Joe Biden back.
I am begging them to run
the guy that
somebody else.
Passionately adores.
Anyone who isn't in their 80s, preferably.
Is he in his 80s? I think he's late 70s.
No, I think I'll check. I think
he's
80.
82? I mean, Trump's old too.
Yeah, I don't like him either.
No, I figured that if Biden ran, you were going to vote for Trump.
Yeah, he's 80 years old.
Oh, so Trump's a spring chicken. Trump's only 76. I know 76-year-olds that are still working demanding manual labor jobs and doing a good job of it.
And good
but
for
they
them.
Aren't president, and I'm okay with that.
And I would like to think that the people you know aren't as bonkers.
Oh, yeah, no, they're definitely not.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely not. Though they might be if you made him president. I think is an underrated aspect of the presidency. It's not good for you. Like, every president you see go in there, fresh-faced, bright-eyed.
Yeah.
Well, not Biden, but he was not fresh-faced or bright. Neither of them were exactly young fellas. But, like, Clinton, Bush, Obama, all, like, went in looking young, came out, like, so much older. They had white hair by, like, their third year, you know?
Obama came out of the presidency after his 8 years and then was like, I'm going to go wakeboarding. I'm just going to go hang out.
I mean, what else would you do?
I don't know.
You know?
But I just think it's funny that immediately he's like, and I'm on vacation now. Peacing out.
It's the classic go back to your farm. Like,
go back to your farm.
If I was president, I would take a good, solid, 2-week vacation after getting off.
Yeah.
Probably, more like 2 years or 2 decades before I did anything else.
Okay, here's my question following up to that then. Where would you go?
On vacation from presidency?
Yeah, like leave you've been president. You leave the presidency. Where are you going? What are you doing?
Well, I'm probably finding someplace in Montana or Wyoming and just chilling for a while.
Yeah. Personally, I think I'm walking into the sea.
Oh no. Well, I'm definitely doing that, but as a fun swimming in the sea thing, not dying.
No, I don't mean to die. I'm just gonna go.
Yeah.
Just gonna immediately leave the White House, go to a beach, start walking.
It's a fair point. I'm not as huge of a beach guy.
Oh.
I love the mountains and the beaches, which is why I love Washington State. But I just places with less people and beautiful scenery and food. I'd probably get real fat straight out of the presidency. I'd get real fat in the presidency, if I'm being honest. Yeah, that would not be. Maybe, I don't know. But when I run for president, vote for me.
We'll see. We'll see about that one. Okay, here's the fun one in the middle for you. Dwayne Johnson buys every Snickers at Hawaii 7-Eleven to right this wrong of candy thefts at 14 years old.
Oh, he stole a Snickers
from
the same 7-Eleven when he was 14.
I don't know if it was the same 7-Eleven. Apparently, he stole a lot of candy bars when he was 14.
Hey, I mean...
So he went back and bought the store out of Snickers. I kind of respect it, but also, you still got both candy bars either way.
Here's the thing. I think the interesting part about that one is the moral of it. Eat lots of Snickers, you'll become The Rock. That's his diet, actually. He does the thing where he's like, I eat all this fish and vegetables. No, it's just
Snickers bars.
It's just Snickers.
If I can become Dwayne The Rock Johnson by just eating Snickers bars, I'm eating Snickers bars. That's it.
This raises the question of if you eat other things that aren't Snickers and pick one thing and stick to them, pick something healthier than Snickers bars, you can become greater than Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Just received a message from the producer.
Yeah.
He says he left them in the counter for people to take for free afterwards.
Aw,
So I guess
see?
he didn't get all the candy bars.
Yeah.
That's
Now
fair.
that I respect.
That's fair.
If it was just him being like, let's cause a massive stocking inconvenience for this 7-Eleven.
Yeah. No, I respect that.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going off of headlines.
Communism, man.
Communism.
I'm joking. I'm joking. That is capitalism at its finest.
That is
Rich people being philanthropic.
okay.
Love it.
That would be your take. Okay, well,
It is,
thrown it back at you after that one. House moves to avert a rail strike.
How so?
From my understanding, the House can put through a bill that forces the agreement to go through, and that is what they are looking at doing.
I mean, that's not. That's sort of a heavy-handed solution to the problem that kind of needs some more complex. Let's actually work on it. On the one hand, railways running is incredibly vital. So, if you say, well, that kind of makes sense. But then you also look at, I'm guessing that most of the lobbyists with real pull in Washington are hired by the railway companies, would be my guess.
It's kind of back and forth because a lot of these politicians have support in their home districts through union votes and have strong ties with local unions. So to kind of cross those unions is a bit of a dicey move.
Yeah.
Like I've seen specifically that I remember Marco Rubio said he was like, I get that it's important to not have a rail strike, but I am not going to support a bill that forces an agreement that doesn't work.
Yeah, because I would imagine
workers.
he probably has some pretty strong union support.
Yeah.
He won pretty big.
Yeah, which I'll say my take on this, I do absolutely understand that a rail strike would be catastrophic.
Yeah.
It would be awful for
Shop local for Christmas. People.
everyone. Yeah, it would be awful for everyone. It's not even, there's
no.
issues beyond that, like the transportation of drinking water and food.
Yeah.
But also, kind of my thing is, if it's, like, yeah, it really is important that you keep the railways open, so
Pay them more, give them
y'all
better.
should probably meet their demands, I guess, because it's a loss for you. If you don't and they strike, that's catastrophic for your business.
Yeah.
I think it's a better decision to actually, in good faith, work with the unions, but, whatever.
Yeah. That's a lot of leverage, and I don't think it's probably a great move to just be like, Congress, help us.
Yeah, I don't. I would be. I'm personally very opposed for them forcing the bill through because the workers are saying like nothing in this agreement addresses the concerns we had about the attendance policy or about
that
pay.
was one that was. Yeah,
That's the big one.
That is very much an issue between a private corporation and its employees. That's not a Senate thing, though. Obviously, it is the railroads.
Yeah, I mean the
Right.
U.S. government
like-
has kind of a hand in a lot of union negotiations and union activities that affect the major like bloodlines, transportation.
Yeah,
a lot
transportation being one of them. Yeah.
for the U.S. But I think maybe they should support the workers. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Speaking of transportation, people who should go on strike. Road construction workers. Just don't fix the roads. I'd rather drive fast on bad roads than go through road work. Never mind.
What would you have them strike for?
I don't know.
I don't
no
know
more
a lot
road
about
work
the plight.
zones.
I
I'm
don't
sick and
think
tired of
that's
having to go
the-
55 on 75.
No, I think probably road workers would. I don't know a lot about the plight of the road worker, but I would say probably their take would be that those speeds should be slower because there's a lot of deaths of road workers hit by traffic every year.
Yeah.
It can be a pretty dangerous job. unfortunately.
And part of the difficulty, I think, is that the signs are always up as if there's road work, and frequently there's no one working.
Yeah.
And maybe they'd be paid attention to more.
If there was some kind of transitioning sign that was like, there is active work in the zone.
Because I'll be honest, I don't necessarily slow down for the signs. I slow down when I see people are working.
Yeah.
Which
I
maybe
get that.
isn't the best thing on my part. I do have a bit of a speeding problem. I should not admit this.
I'll admit it freely. I do love to speed. I have a need for speed. I'm on my 6th cup of coffee, and that is how I drive. So,
always.
Huh?
When you get in your car, it doesn't matter how many cups of coffee you've had. You've had 6.
Yeah,
You're on 6 cups.
Pedal to the metal all the time. You've ridden in the car with me.
I have.
I don't put up with anything.
We did get to Western Kentucky at a
We did, in
rapid
fact,
rate.
get to Mayfield 30 minutes faster than we thought.
Yeah, it was a tailwind.
Cut that down from a 10-hour trip to a 9-hour trip.
That was such a long trip. Okay. Where were we at?
I have one last headline for you.
Headlines.
I told you I had a lot. New York City this is from the New York Times. New York City to remove mentally ill people from streets against their will.
I saw that this morning. Where are they putting them?
The other version of this headline that I saw said that it was hospitalization against their will.
There's a tricky subject.
Do you want more context?
Yeah, a little bit.
The kind of sub-headline explains that this also affects people who are not presenting a danger to themselves or anyone else.
So just people that are maybe bugging people a little bit, or
people that are like mentally ill and clearly having issues but are not a danger to themselves or others.
That's not. I feel like that's not good. That's because it is tricky. Because on the one hand, hopefully they're getting them help, but getting people help against their will really isn't okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit conflicting because there is that hope that like they're being taken off the streets because they are going to hospitals to get help and that they will be able to have informed consent for their treatment.
Yeah.
But if they're having mental health issues and they're being removed from the streets, they probably cannot give that informed consent.
Also, frequently, this is just an assumption, and apologies to anybody who works in the New York mental health system, but I would guess that some of the New York City mental hospitals that they're more likely to send people that they took off the streets to are not great places to be.
Yeah, I think a part of it is probably that because New York City is so big, a lot of the mental health institutions are, more than likely are overburdened. And so they're having those kind of strains, and I think bringing more people in will further stress the system. But beyond that, also, my other question is the state going to be footing the bill for their medical care? When
That is a good
put in
question.
the hospital against their will?
Because if you're putting someone in a hospital against their will, you should pay for it.
Yeah, because I'm sure for some people who are in this situation, the reason that they don't seek treatment is because they can't afford it, or they don't have the insurance for it. So are you taking to the hospital and you're gonna force them to pay that bill that they can't afford?
Is this New York City or New York State?
It's New York City.
Okay. So this is the new mayor. What's his name? Interesting, though.
Yes.
I'm curious if there's any other cities that have done that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know a lot about compulsory hospitalization in that kind of manner, but
Yeah.
feels a little gross to me.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's like, it's probably has some good intent if it's from a place
Yeah.
of wanting to help them and not just wanting to get them out of view.
Yeah.
But I'm not usually for making people do stuff they don't want to do, generally.
On that, we agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not always, though. Sometimes, people got to do stuff.
for sure.
We should compulsory military service? No, I'm kidding.
No,
I'm kidding.
Peter.
Joke.
The only kind of thing that I would support like that is probably compulsory voting.
No.
Why not?
I have strong opinions of that. No. If you don't want to vote, you should not vote.
I feel like you should have to vote. A lot of countries have it where you have to vote or you have to have an exception that says you don't have to vote.
No. I would rather have people that at least pay a little bit of attention be the ones that vote.
I don't know that everybody who votes pays attention.
I don't know that either. But I know that a lot of people that don't vote don't pay attention.
But I also feel like a lot more people would care about politics if they had to vote. But there's also the option of
putting in an empty ballot.
You don't have to have a binary vote situation. You can have like a no confidence vote where you'd be like, I don't like anybody.
That would be the most popular choice every time.
Probably.
My presidential vote in Trump versus Biden was a no confidence vote.
Yeah.
I don't remember who I voted for, but they weren't running. I almost voted for Kanye, which in hindsight is looking like a better and better decision to not do every day.
Yeah, don't do that.
Well, because in some ways it's like the protest vote of, oh, I voted for the rapper against these two people who should not have been running. Yeah. But on the other hand, I voted for the rapper. Like, I didn't vote for the rapper. I forget who I voted for. It was two like competent people that are left politics because they were like sick of it.
I grimaced and voted for Biden.
Yeah, that's a big grimace moment for you.
Not the candidate I wanted, but my options were.
Which candidate did you want? Of
Sanders.
the ones that. Oh yeah. Sanders.
Yeah, obviously.
No, I knew that.
I love Bernie. I love Bernie Sanders. What a guy. At least we know what he believes in. He's been
That's
doing.
a fair point. That I do have that. I do not agree with Bernie Sanders on very much, but I respect the fact that what he believes, he has believed since before he was like his first political position.
Yeah. He did not get into politics because he wanted the money or prestige. He got into politics because he cared.
He didn't say, we're going to do student loan
care.
debt forgiveness because the young people want it and will vote for me. He didn't do that. He just has believed what he believes for a while. And I respect that. He's definitely one of my favorite politicians of that side, even though I don't really agree with him much.
I love Bernie.
He just seems sincere, and I can respect that.
He is, yeah. And also, okay, I know I said my comment about like someone not old, but Bernie's the only old person I would accept. Because how are you going to tell me that this little old man with his mittens, crisscrossing his little chair, is not the best presidential candidate you've ever seen? Put that man in the White House. I want to see him wearing his little mittens, having a meeting with some foreign dignitary. I want that. That's all I want.
Yeah, I can't say, yeah. Well,
I want Bernie disgruntled wearing his mittens.
Trump's inauguration?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw it, but when that happened on the Campbell building, the art students, you know how they go out and they chalk it up?
Yeah.
Someone made a very realistic chalk drawing of Bernie in his little chair.
Yeah, I remember that was quite the... People kind of losing their minds about that one for a bit.
I still love it. I still adore that picture.
Yeah. No, I think Bernie is probably... He might be one of the more respected politicians out there. Simply because he's believed what he's believed for a long time. Where it's not like our current vice president who's like, yeah, I smoked weed in college and also prosecuted people and put them in jail for smoking weed fresh out of college. So that makes you a bad person.
Yeah, that makes you a hypocrite, dog. I don't
like
respect
do one
that.
or the other, and I'll respect either, but don't do both.
No, don't do one or the other. Do one and not the other. That's
yes,
my
prosecute
opinion.
people and don't smoke weed. That's what you're saying, right?
No, don't prosecute people for smoking weed. That's my opinion. Just smoke the weed, okay? That's peaceful at least. You're not ruining anybody's life with that. You're just chilling.
Probably not ruining anybody's life.
No, you're not.
People can smoke weed and ruin people's lives.
Yeah, but the inherent act of smoking weed is not what's ruining other people's lives.
This is true.
You're minding your own business when you do that.
Well, I think that you're not minding your own business, but you're not minding anybody else's either.
You're minding nothing.
I've never smoked weed, so I don't know.
You're just chilling.
Is it just like shortcut to the nothing box?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
I have a friend who talked about she got this like exotic blend from some guy she knew, and then she was like under a blanket listening to ocean sounds, and she's like, I'm in the ocean. That's it. I'm in the ocean. Having the best time of her life.
I think I would hate that.
It wasn't, well, maybe you don't like swimming.
I love swimming.
Aren't you afraid of deep water? Isn't that something?
No, yes.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I don't like swimming.
Yeah, so
I love swimming
that's why
because
you
it
don't
means
like
I don't
the
drown.
ocean, because it's deep water.
I love the ocean.
What are you talking about,
I
Peter?
am considering applying to be on a fishing boat in Alaska this summer.
Why?
Legitimately. It's good
Why?
pay. It's good pay. And imagine that on a resume. You know, it goes editor-in-chief of the Eastern Progress.
Uh-huh. Alaskan
Deckhand.
fisherman? Actually, that's kind of wild. My dad almost applied for a deckhand job in Alaska when he was in college.
Respect to him for that.
He did not apply for it.
Oh,
He ended up
never mind.
a few years
I've lost
later.
all respect for your father. It's a joke. It's a joke. Sorry. Not because he didn't apply to the deckhand job.
Finishing that story, a few years later, he was tracking turtles with radio transmitters through the backwoods of Ohio.
We've all been there. Okay, where were we?
You know? We had just finished up talking
Bernie.
about... Yeah, we were talking about Bernie, but we were talking about...
Trains.
That was a while ago,
I
babe.
like trains.
For sure. Yep. For everyone watching at home, Peter has had the most sleep. He woke up 15 minutes before he came in, and I have not slept since 7 a.m. yesterday, and I have had 6 cups of coffee. So we are on 2 very different vibes today.
But that was me yesterday, because yesterday I got up at 8 a.m. the day before.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So, you know.
Yes. We were going to talk about...
Taxes?
Taxes.
We were going to talk about taxes.
We can
I
talk
want to hear
about
your take on
taxes.
taxes.
No, I'd like to hear your take on taxes first.
I'm a big belief that if you simplified the tax code to the point that you're not given this massive advantage by having a tax lawyer, it would help out a lot.
I see.
That's what I see as the fundamental issue with the tax code, is that people need to know what they owe the government.
I see.
And it needs to be simpler. And if you do that, then there's not going to be people like Jeffrey Bezos getting away with not paying the taxes that they should, because they can afford the lawyers to get them out of it.
So then are you saying you want flat taxes, Peter?
I am saying that I want something pretty close to flat taxes.
Okay, and here's
I'm not saying like no credits or anything, because maybe...
No. I get you. I understand the point you're making. It's a point I share. But I will explain to you why flat taxes is the wrong solution.
Okay.
So, flat taxes are inherently... There's 2 kinds of taxes. What we have is a progressive tax system, and what flat taxes are is a regressive tax system. So, with the system we have currently, the amount of taxes you pay goes up little by little the more money you make.
Yeah.
And then with what you were talking about, there's so many exceptions and loopholes that people who make all the money at the top can afford to get the lawyers who will find the loopholes so they don't pay any of the taxes they're supposed to. That's bad. That is wrong. They should not be able to do that. That needs fixed. That does need fixed in the tax code. But having a regressive tax like flat tax is not the solution, because it most negatively impacts the people with the lowest income. So, for example, let's say that I make $100 a month and you make $1,000 a month. And just to make the numbers easy, we have a 10% flat tax on income. So that tax for me is $10. That tax for you would be $100 per month, which I'm clearly paying a lot less than you are. But when you only have $100 and you lose $10, that is food for the table. Yeah. That is your electricity bill. That is gas to get to work. When you have $1,000 and you lose $100, it's more money than $10, and it sucks to lose $100, but you still have $900 left over, and with that $900 you can pay for groceries and gas and food. Yeah. So having one tax rate negatively affects people who make less, because it's a proportion-wise the money that you are getting at the low income level. It's the $10. Yes, exactly.
To me. And I see that. I see that argument, and it makes sense in some ways. But
And that's not really.
Yeah.
I'll explain. That's not an argument. That's not like a one view of how
Yeah,
flat
yeah.
taxes work. That is like. That's why it's called a regressive tax.
Because it does that. Fair point.
Yeah.
I'll think about it.
Yeah. And then I have a professor. He was my political science professor, and with him I disagree on many points. And I'm sure he is aware of that. My entire class that I had with him this semester, I think all of us, he would say things sometimes, and everyone in the room was like, all right, let's all take a turn telling him why he's wrong.
Yeah.
And we did that more than once because he has opinions.
He's a poli-sci professor.
Yeah, he has some opinions. And one of the ones we were talking about was that a different political scientist was like, I think that in order to solve all of the U.S.'s tax problems and install like a comprehensive welfare state, you would need to put a 12% tax on everything, just a flat 12% tax on sales, income, everything. And that 12% tax would pay for all of the welfare for everyone who needed it in the entire country and all the benefits, all the, like the free preschool, the food stamps, everything. So what we were talking about, because I went on my usual regressive flat tax explanation, and kind of the point we got to talking to him was the chicken or the egg situation. Do you put together the welfare state that can support the people before you have the money to come in to support it? Or do you start charging the 12% tax immediately, causing millions of people who are very low economic status to struggle and probably some people to die so that you can have the money to support that welfare state and then instate it? I'm in the camp of you need the resources before you can do a flat tax. Because there are some ways that a flat tax can function. If you have a full, comprehensive welfare state, I think a flat tax wouldn't be so bad because you have all of those resources so that someone who is losing that 10 out of their $100 isn't starving to death without that $10. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think the fundamental issue with taxes is that I'm trying to think what I pay in taxes. More than I should, I'm sure. But I can look at what I pay and be like, sometimes it's the disconnect between what we're paying for. Because ultimately it's not like a matter of the amount of taxes you pay should have something to do with what the government is doing for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the government wants. I think that's generally what a lot of politicians want us to lose sight of, is that we are paying the government to do things for us. That's why the government exists. They are servants, not like they are hired.
Yes.
We hired them for a reason.
Yes.
And if someone is being made to pay, say, I don't know what your top tax rate would be if you set the tax rate, but what would it be? Just
like a flat tax rate?
For like the highest income bracket. You don't know?
Oh, for the highest income bracket? Well, there was one proposed, oh God, it was years ago. But the idea was that anyone making over, I think it was a few $1 million a year, would be taxed 80% on the extra over those millions.
80% on the extra over millions.
Yes, so you still have your millions of dollars, but anything you get beyond that point of like unreasonable wealth is 80% taxed.
I think the thing that you look at there is what, and this is my primary problem I think with is what is that person getting from the government with the amount of taxes they're paying that warrants them paying that much in taxes. And if there's not something, I don't think you can justify charging that kind of tax rate.
I think kind of the fundamental issue is that in order to make billions of dollars.
Yeah.
There is no way to get there without exploiting the labor of other people. So then the idea would be that the extra taxes beyond that, because it's unfathomable amounts of wealth. I will come nowhere near having touched $1 million in my lifetime. In 100
Probably
years.
come pretty close to having touched $1 million.
I doubt it.
Not at one time, but you'll have touched $1 million.
Over my whole lifetime? I doubt it. I think journalist salaries are low.
Yeah.
But a few $1 million, I'm never going to get anywhere near that living a normal life. I can live a middle-class life and be perfectly happy and never get close to having the wealth that someone like Jeff Bezos has.
Yeah.
So, like in, the conditions
Jeff
at
Bezos
Amazon.
is almost literally the most extreme example.
Yes. And that's what that extreme, the 80% tax is made for, is that situation where you have someone who has built an industry and is getting their millions and billions of dollars off of exploiting the labor of other people, so that they're paying for their own labor exploitation through
I think that's
wages.
Probably not entirely. Just because you can make a whole lot of money while treating people who work for you well. You can make a whole lot of money. And I think that's... Jeffrey Bezos does not.
Yeah. Let me put it in labor value theory kind of a way.
Yeah.
What labor is Jeffrey Bezos doing that is worth the income he has?
Well, again, Jeffrey Bezos probably not an example of someone treating his employees
or
well.
Elon Musk or Bill Gates or any of these billionaires, Warren Jeffs. What labor are they inputting into the market to earn their income?
Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, not Warren Jeffs. Right?
I said Warren Buffett.
You said Jeffs.
Did I?
Yeah.
No, Buffett.
Isn't Warren Jeffs that dude in Texas with the cult?
With the fundamentalist Mormons, FLDS? Yeah. Yes.
Fortunately, not a billionaire.
Yeah.
In jail, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway. Well, Bill Gates was, and I think to some extent, though I guess he's divested from Microsoft. Or not divested, but he's not CEO of Microsoft anymore, right?
I don't think so.
No, he's not, because I forget his name. But Bill Gates did put a lot of work into Microsoft.
Did he put in the labor value that is worth the income he has earned?
He put in the intellectual idea value, which if ideas aren't worth capital in a sense, that doesn't seem entirely fair to someone who's, yes, he's not worked all of the hours that people worked, and eventually it was like it started, and it was probably there was him and the other co-founders of Microsoft in a bigger, and then of course it would grow, hire more people. Eventually he would be doing, I mean, that's how generally it works, is you work your way up, you're doing less of the actual nitty-gritty work and more of the organization and planning and vision casting or whatever.
Yeah. Let me explain kind of the theory we're looking at this through. The labor value theory is that what adds value to a product. Say you have wood that becomes paper. What has added value to that and made the value of the paper is the labor used to cut the tree, pulp the wood, make the paper.
Yes.
So when I ask what labor he has done to earn the income that he has, I'm asking what is the work, like the physical work, what is the work he has done, the labor he has put into earning that income. I don't think that someone whose job is like being a visionary, saying like, this is my idea, I would like the rest of you to design how it works and put it together. I don't think that necessarily is worth millions of dollars in labor value.
That in itself is not necessarily worth that. And
That's what I'm
there's
saying.
plenty of broke visionaries. But generally speaking, it's not. So the lumber mill adds, right? The lumberjack adds value. The people at the paper mill adds value. I don't know, getting it out there, the delivery and all that adds value. But if there's not a organization of getting it from lumber mill, if there's not something, there's not some plan there, then none of that has any value.
I disagree.
Because then you just have trees on the ground.
I disagree because I can walk up to a tree, pick an apple, bring it to my little stall on the street, and sell it to you. I have added value in the picking the apple, walking to my stall,
yes,
speaking with you.
Yeah.
That is the labor that I have added. And that is why the apple costs money, is because I put labor into bringing it to you.
But, and in the case of a computer, so take Bill Gates, right? In the case of a computer, designed, right? It has to be designed, which he had some part in that, especially early on, right? And then a corporation that builds computers, it's not, if it was always just as simple as picking apple, walking it to a store, then there wouldn't be a Bill Gates, right? There wouldn't need to be. But when it gets more complex than that, when it's planning and designing things and putting them out there to large groups of people, it becomes much more complex. And at some point, the person with the ideas behind it, who risked capital to start it, it's not wrong for them to have earned more money than someone who came along later and executed plans.
See, I don't necessarily agree with that, because my thing is, the CEO of a company may be like hiring people, firing people, deciding what the structure of the organization is.
Yeah.
I don't think that person is putting in more labor and therefore deserving of more income than the person who is actually designing the product, or the person who is actually designing the components or writing the software.
But
Because they are adding more value and labor than the guy who's saying, you go here.
But I'm not entirely sure that's true, because yes, those software engineers are important.
No, let me explain. There are companies that function without an organizational head like that. There is a worker-owned soap factory, I think in Greece, where it's just all community-led decisions.
Yeah.
There's no person at the top. And they are doing great.
It's possible, but when you do have a CEO can break a company, and they can make a company do much better, right? And I think they can do that on a larger scale, and that's why they're paid on a larger scale.
Again, I don't think that designing is worth more income than the people who are actually adding value to the product.
Designing adds value to a product, though.
Because if you have a person who is building a computer, and you have a person who is like deciding which people are going to be sent where to build the computer, if you have the person building the computer, you have a product. If you have a person deciding where people go, but no one building a computer, you do not have a product at all to sell.
If you have someone who designs the computer, if you have someone who will build a computer from designs, but nobody to design it, you won't have a computer.
Yeah, but the CEO is not doing that creative work 9 times out of 10. They're deciding which people
started doing that, and he used it.
Yeah,
and
he's one specific person, but he's far removed from that process now.
Yes,
and he has been for a long time.
Yeah.
So I don't think that he should be getting the income of the workers actually creating the value of the product after he is long removed. I don't think the legacy is what he should be paid for.
Well, it's not entirely legacy, right? It's also the capital that he initially put in, right? But I think
And I also don't think being putting in capital entitles you to more out of it.
There we might differ. It doesn't necessarily, but if you then handle the company well and it takes off places, I think it does. Okay. Let's see. So taxes. We still disagree, I think. But I'll think about it. And it's, but I really, my fundamental thing is still, I don't think it's reasonable to charge someone a ridiculous amount, or not a ridiculous amount, that high of an amount, unless they're also getting something worth that.
They are. They're getting their workers not dying.
That's
what the welfare state...
That shouldn't be in the hands of the government.
That can be your opinion.
That is my opinion.
But unfortunately, that's not where we're at. Because, like, cases like Jeff Bezos, the workers are being exploited.
Yeah. Yes.
And no one at Amazon is going to stop and turn around and say, oh, this is bad. We should take care of them.
Yeah. Except for most of the workers.
The workers themselves absolutely are like, yeah, let's take care of each other. But they don't get to make the decisions about that.
Yeah. Which is part of why the tax incentives that people give Amazon to move, say, their headquarters there, are a dangerous thing.
Yeah, gross. I don't like that.
Yeah. And I say this as someone from Georgetown, which is Toyota City, because we gave them a bunch of tax benefits. But Toyota is also a better company than Amazon. Buy a Camry.
Buy a Camry.
So I can put food on my table. No,
so you can put food on your table.
No. Okay, but we should probably wrap up.
Peter Wilson relies on your car buying decisions
Toyota.
To eat. So I
Zoom,
hope
zoom.
you buy a Toyota.
Okay. We need to wrap it up. So,
wrap it up. Okay.
Yeah, Ryan has looked at me and gone multiple
I am
times.
sorry.
And I,
but we'll wrap it up with our last segment, which Peter chose this time, which is favorite Christmas songs. I don't celebrate Christmas as a religious holiday, but I do have a favorite Christmas song. And I don't know if you've ever heard it. It's called His Favorite Christmas Story by Capital Lights.
No.
No? Okay. It is basically the story of this guy who meets a pretty girl on Christmas Eve, and he gets up the nerve to ask her to dance. And they dance, but he's a traveling man. And so the next morning he takes off and he does not see her again. So his whole life he's telling these people at the diners he goes to on his travels, and he's telling the neighborhood kids that come to his house for Christmas every year when he's in his 50s and he's alone. He's telling them all the story about this really pretty girl he met on Christmas Eve that he has never stopped thinking about. And then as he lay dying in his hospital bed on Christmas morning, he asked the nurse for a Christmas story, and she was like, back in 1957, at a Christmas party, I danced with this guy, and I really liked him, and I'm so glad he asked me to dance. And it's the girl from the beginning.
Yeah, that's kind of sweet.
I love that song so much.
Mine is The Messiah Oratorio by George Frederick Handel.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll blast that in the car.
Okay.
Legitimately.
Yeah. Honestly, should have expected that from you.
Yeah.
We do have our friend Jordan back behind the producer booth today. Jordan, do you have a Christmas song you'd like to share? Come on out, Jordan.
Dang, putting me on the spot.
Yeah.
Like that. Let's see. What's that one Christmas song that goes like,
Yep.
help me out here. They know Santa Baby.
Yes. Okay, that's
Classic,
a respectable choice.
Classic.
That's a respectable choice. Ryan, do you have a favorite? Would you like to chime in? He's shaking his head no.
His favorite is Last Christmas by Wham.
I respect that. Sure. That's a respectable choice.
I'm saying that
He's
because
still
I want
shaking
to make him
his head.
Say it.
Okay. Well, Ryan, would you no?
Man.
He's saying no. Okay, well, that is going to be our show for today. This has been Wilson v. Wilson. I'm Jess Wilson.
I'm Peter Wilson.
And we will see you next semester.
Sometime.
Have a good winter break. Bye.
We'd like to thank you for supporting the Eastern Progress Media Network.